You do look to be in great shape. How is the training camp going? Because we see the 30-second clips with Rafael Cordero and your whole team, but could you give us a little more insight into how things are going?
I'm doing great, but my body is shit right now. I'm sore, I'm really sore.
Sure, he's 100, but G looks good.
Yeah, man, he's looking really, really good. I'm definitely a little bit crazy, and I'm definitely a little bit scared.
Mike Tyson seems to be facing serious struggles just 2 months after his epic showdown with Jake Paul. Once regarded as the most feared fighter in boxing history, it's truly heartbreaking to witness him now, appearing to search for relevance in an entirely different way. Startling new footage shows Tyson has put on weight. Sadly, it's not muscle. Fans everywhere are left questioning, what's truly happening with this boxing legend?
Just that head movement and inside is just wild.
Everything. And the power. It was just, that's what you wanted to see from a heavyweight. So that guy is still alive. And he still remembers all these moments.
After his adrenaline-filled return to the ring, a comeback that left fans second-guessing his legendary status, the aftermath for Mike Tyson is far from glamorous. The man once called the baddest on the planet seems to have traded his championship legacy for fast money and haunting regrets. As his career seems to unravel quicker than his endurance during the match, Tyson's return is fast becoming a disappointing and bloated shadow of his once great self.
Tyson people talk to. People are, there's certain people that are just crazy, man.
Well, these people that think that he don't stand a chance against Jake Paul, that are like, this shouldn't even, like, because he's too old. I was like, I think you're crazy.
Mike Tyson, his name alone used to send shivers down the spines of anyone brave enough to face him. He wasn't merely a boxer, he embodied an unstoppable force of nature, a hurricane of power that dismantled his opponents in mere seconds.
Tyson requested the 2-minute rounds, wanting to see more action.
But fast forward to November 15, 2024, and the name Mike Tyson carries a completely different meaning: struggle. His much-hyped bout against Jake Paul wasn't just fists flying, it was a clash between two eras, a meeting of colossal egos, and a brutal reminder that even the greatest icons eventually face their decline.
Friend Mike Tyson tweeted that he almost died over the summer. He said, he had a bunch of blood transfusions, just had to fight to get healthy, and then his performance yesterday against Jake Paul. Just your thoughts on what we saw.
Mike Tyson was right, and I was wrong.
This wasn't the Tyson that the world once revered. This was a 58-year-old man who had already faced a near-death scare earlier in the same year. The fearsome wrecking machine who once crushed rivals with terrifying ease now stood across from a YouTuber-turned-fighter nearly half his age. Truthfully, the entire event felt less like a true sporting contest and more like a tragic sideshow.
Welcome home, Iron Mike Tyson!
Tyson clearly struggled to find his footing as Jake Paul moved effortlessly around him, carrying the speed and vitality of someone much younger. This wasn't the same destroyer who used to level opponents with ruthless precision. This was Mike Tyson, still a global icon but now battered, weary, and clinging desperately to what once was.
Last day and was ready to kill everybody on the boat because he had to jump in with all these sharks again in the middle of Florida. And he's like, this fucking asshole says that, he cares about me and everything else. I've been fighting since I was 12. And he throws me in the fucking ocean with a bunch of sharks.
The entire scenario has left Iron Mike teetering on the edge of an emotional breakdown. Let's be honest, can a man of 58 truly step into the ring without suffering devastating effects, not only on his body but also on his spirit? Weeks after the match, Tyson opened up about the emotional toll, admitting, the fight was such a big ascent. We were so up and high.
But the day after the fight, I woke up and told my wife, why did I do that?
The entire scenario has left Iron Mike teetering on the edge of an emotional breakdown. Let's be honest, can a man of 58 truly step into the ring without suffering devastating effects, not only on his body but also on his spirit? Weeks after the match, Tyson opened up about the emotional toll, admitting, the fight was such a big ascent. We were so up and high.
Was by its nature a horrible fight, right from the start. It was just awful.
Mike Tyson's comeback fight with Jake Paul wasn't merely a sporting event, it unleashed a storm of emotions and controversy that still lingers. Speaking candidly in an interview on December 9th, Tyson revealed he's been feeling a little bit depressed since the bout. For a man who once sat on boxing's throne, it wasn't just about the defeat, it was about facing the unsettling questions of his own place, his identity, and the meaning of his legacy.
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing.
The fallout from Tyson's return struck harder than any punch thrown that night. What was meant to be a victorious comeback turned out to be an unforgiving reality check. Jake Paul, the internet star turned boxer, emerged victorious, leaving Tyson's once untouchable legacy hanging by the thinnest thread. At 58, Tyson faced not just defeat in the ring but the crushing truth that time, relentless and merciless, had finally caught up with him. But it's important to remember the business side of this spectacle. The fight drew an astounding 108 million viewers on Netflix, shattering previous records. The excitement was unprecedented to Tyson, the legendary warrior, stepping in against Jake Paul, the bold-faced disruptor of the sport. From the first bell, it was obvious this wouldn't be the fairy tale comeback fans had hoped for. Tyson came out swinging, with flashes of his old self, but by round 2, the cracks appeared. His punches lacked their old venom, his endurance was fading, and Jake Paul took full advantage of every opening.
And everybody was saying, oh, nice shot by Jake Paul.
Right hand by Paul, that is.
Round after round, it became painfully obvious that Jake Paul maintained control from start to finish. His speed and youthful energy were simply too much for Tyson to handle. The punches that once made Tyson a legend, once feared across the world, lacked their trademark ferocity. By the time the fourth round arrived, the crowd was no longer witnessing a competitive fight, it had turned into a heartbreaking reminder that Father Time always wins.
Judge David Yacobucci sees the contest 80-72, while judges Lawrence Cole and Jesse Reyes see it 79-73. Declaring your winner by unanimous decision, Jake El Gallo!
The fight concluded with a unanimous decision in favor of Jake Paul, with scorecards reading 80-72, 79-73, and 79-73, a decisive victory with zero controversy. But the real cost was far greater for Tyson, as his legacy took a serious hit. Almost immediately after the match, rumors began swirling about a leaked script suggesting the whole event was more about drama and entertainment than genuine boxing.
And we wouldn't be here today without him. This man is an icon, and it's just an honor to be able to fight him. And he's obviously the toughest, baddest man on the planet, so.
For Jake Paul, this was nothing short of a career-defining victory, but for Mike Tyson, it was a bitter pill that was hard to swallow.
You know, 58, a lot of people thought you shouldn't be here. A lot of people thought you'd be done and dusted in the first round. Do you feel like you proved the world wrong, that you could at least go 8 rounds with a younger man?
I didn't prove nothing to anybody, only to myself.
The loss wasn't confined to the judges' scorecards, it was written all over Tyson's every movement, each labored breath, every slow step, and each punch that failed to carry the force it once had. And the nightmare didn't stop when the bell rang.
What do you have to say to the critics that brought that up?
Oh no, I don't remember the fight that much. I kind of blanked out a little.
Sir, did you watch it back or anything or no?
I'm gonna watch the fight. No, I have not.
Okay.
Tyson later admitted to blanking out during parts of the fight. The last thing I remember is Jake bowing in the ring. Let that sink in. The man who once ruled boxing barely remembers the end of his own fight.
Tyson later revealed that there were moments during the fight he couldn't even remember. The last thing I recall is Jake bowing inside the ring, he admitted. Think about that, the man who once ruled the boxing world hardly remembers the ending of his own match. Reflecting on his career, Iron Mike is more than just a nickname, it's a monumental piece of boxing history. With his raw power and unmatched aggression, Tyson became an unstoppable machine in the sport, achieving records that still stand today. At only 20 years old, he made history by becoming the youngest heavyweight champion ever, crushing Trevor Berbick back in 1986. And that was just the beginning of his dominance.
And I watched the guy's face, and I watched that confidence bleed from his face. Instantaneously.
Yeah. Tyson's reign was built on devastating, explosive knockouts. 44 of his 50 career wins ended before the final bell, with 24 of those knockouts happening in the very first round. His ability to end fights almost instantly made him the ultimate nightmare for heavyweight contenders. When Tyson became the first man to simultaneously hold the WBC, WBA, and IBF titles, he didn't just claim victory, he completely dominated the division. But let's be honest, the aftermath of Tyson's bout with Jake Paul has deeply divided the boxing community. Some fans, especially the diehards, continue to cheer for Tyson simply for having the courage to step back into the ring.
It wasn't about what he had left at 58, it was what maybe he might have, and the image, the scary guy, the guy that's going to eat your children, the guy who's the baddest man on the planet.
Tyson's reign was built on devastating, explosive knockouts. 44 of his 50 career wins ended before the final bell, with 24 of those knockouts happening in the very first round. His ability to end fights almost instantly made him the ultimate nightmare for heavyweight contenders. When Tyson became the first man to simultaneously hold the WBC, WBA, and IBF titles, he didn't just claim victory, he completely dominated the division. But let's be honest, the aftermath of Tyson's bout with Jake Paul has deeply divided the boxing community. Some fans, especially the diehards, continue to cheer for Tyson simply for having the courage to step back into the ring.
Your thoughts on what we saw?
Mike Tyson was right, and I was wrong.
And then there's Jake Paul, a controversy all by himself. Is he truly the new face of modern boxing, showing that the sport can evolve? Or is he the very symbol of everything that's wrong with today's boxing, flashy, noisy, and more about hype than skill? Love him or hate him, Jake knows exactly how to stay in the headlines. After defeating Tyson, his value in the celebrity boxing world soared. But let's not kid ourselves, this also reignited fiery debates over the current state of the sport.
25 million and 40 million?
I think 20 and 40. Yeah,
20 and
I think
40.
that's what I'd heard. You know, which I'm happy Mike got the money, and I'm happy that he didn't get hurt. That was my fear, that it was going to be a real fight and he was going to get hurt.
You've known him for a long time. I've known him for a long time.
And then there's the ethical question, should a 58-year-old man, even one as iconic as Tyson, really be stepping into the ring for a sanctioned fight? Many critics argue it's flat-out dangerous, and after watching Tyson's performance, it's hard to disagree. This wasn't merely a defeat, it served as a sobering reminder that even the toughest warriors can't outrun the hands of time.
Well, I don't know. Maybe his brother.
You want to fight Logan? Logan, I think he said you might be next.
I'll kill you, Mike.
And here we are, face to face with the reality of Tyson's legacy, and it's complicated. The man who once reigned supreme, making the ring his personal playground, is now calling out Logan Paul for his next fight. Yes, you heard that right, Logan Paul. Even after that disappointing night against Jake Paul, Tyson is still chasing relevance, still determined to keep his name in the fight game.
Wasn't the Tyson-Jake fight, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's amazing they got paid so much money for that.
Some people say this is purely about money, after all. Who wouldn't want a slice of that celebrity boxing paycheck? But let's be honest, Tyson isn't broke. He still has millions to his name. This isn't about finances, it's something far deeper. Maybe it's that Tyson simply can't let go of the glory days. The desire to stay in the spotlight when the world has already moved on is powerful. And Tyson clearly hasn't figured out how to stop chasing that rush. So, he calls out Logan Paul, and just like that, the buzz begins again. But there's a bigger question looming: how much of his own legacy is Tyson willing to risk? This is a man who has already faced unimaginable highs and crushing lows, and instead of retiring gracefully, he finds himself back at the starting line, trying to convince both us and himself that he still belongs. The issue is, every time Tyson steps back into the spotlight, he adds yet another chapter to a story that's already complete. His name is already carved in boxing's history books. Does he really need another bruising on his record to prove something? And when we take a step back and look at this so-called comeback in the bigger picture, it becomes clear that this is about more than just Tyson, it's about the direction of boxing itself. Let's talk about what's really going on. Celebrity boxing is now a full-blown phenomenon. Sure, the money is pouring in, but it's slowly destroying the very soul of the sport. Where are the next true legends, the next Tyson, the next Ali? Instead, we're being served a spectacle of social media influencers and reality TV stars. Tyson's loss to Jake Paul wasn't just a personal downfall, it was a glaring, neon-lit sign flashing the message that boxing, as we knew it, is in deep trouble.
I believe that he was making the money he says he's making. Showtime Boxing wouldn't have gone out of business, and Showtime would have made sure they kept paying him.
If you enjoyed the fight, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more knockout content only on Knuckle Forge.